Yeah. So you want you want to set up your repos to where you know everyone has access to it, and then there are certain restrictions. So you don't want people to be able to push directly to the main branch, for example. The main branch is important, it's sacred, it should be like deployable, and anything that gets to main should have to go through a process, including reviews. So we'll set up ways to have reviewers have to approve your code, and then once it's approved, then you can merge it into the main branch. And in addition to that, we want to have certain automated tests run. So anytime someone makes a pull request or merges with the main branch, you're going to want to run your unit tests, and then you'll also want to basically do like a mini end-to-end test at the very least. So basically run the Docker compose file. So if you're doing that every time, you can be sure that there's like a minimum quality level. And it's not just like, oh, I ran it on my machine and it worked, but it broke. It doesn't work on your machine, those kind of problems. All right, so let's get into that. Move this over. My computer is struggling. All right. So first thing we do is I'm going to show you how to set up a repo and put some restrictions on it. So I'm going to go to my GitHub account. And I'm going to set up a new repo. I'll create this repository. And I'm going to go through. So I have this local code, which is now no longer a Git project. So I'm, starting from scratch here. So I do git init. And then I'm just going to follow the standard thing. I'll do add. And then commit, blah, blah, blah. And then git push -u origin main. All right, so now this is a local Git repository, and I also have a remote Git repository. So this is like your team's official code base. So you will go into settings first, and then I'm going to add a couple of things I got to do. And that maybe 1 second. All right, so I'm gonna invite a couple of you. So who wants to be? I need a couple of GitHub handles.
It's Chris-Galey. Galey. No I and an E.
Sorry.
Ley.
Thank you.
Yep.
So you can accept that, and then can I get one more person?
You can do this is Kenny B.
All right, so I'll wait for you guys to accept the invitation. Should be in your whatever email account you have associated with.
I accepted it.
Cool. All right, so I've added a couple people. So now I'm going to go to the branch. So you'll add everyone on your team, basically. And I would say it's best to keep it public. Keep the repo public. This is also, by the way, the whole point of this, it's not just some arbitrary code platoon thing. It's for you to help you get a job. So you want people to be able to look at this. All right, so you go to branches, and we're gonna set up some rules. And the branch that we care about is going to be main. So whatever you call your primary branch, master, main, prod, whatever you want to call it. In this case, it's main. So you put that there. And then we're going to check a couple boxes. So one is require a pull request before merging. And this basically means you can't directly push to master. So before I set these rules, I'm going to go push up a commit. So I'm just going to push directly to master, which you should, never do anyway, but I'm going to do it. So made the change, git add, git commit -m. Okay, so I just pushed to main. I didn't even create another branch. A very bad habit. And now you can see that this will be updated. So I've got this commit, but I don't want to be able to do that because if everyone does that, then it's just chaos. And now we can't really be sure that this is deployable. So we're going to go into settings and branches, add branch protection rule, main, and then we're going to say you have to have approval. I'll set it to 2. So 2 people have to approve the commit before we merge it. And then you can check this one as well. And let's see. Yeah, do not allow bypassing the above settings. Okay, so I'm gonna create this. And now if I do the same thing I just did, so I'm gonna add another commit. I get rejected. So remote error, blah, 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 protected branch, blah, blah, blah. So I can't just push to main anymore. So what I have to do instead is I have to push to a different branch that will then get merged. So now I'm going to create a different branch. So git checkout -b, new line feature. So now I have a new branch. Okay, I'm gonna push this. So git push origin new line feature, and that worked. And now I can go here, and I can do this here, or I can go create a pull request or whatever. So I'll just take the shortcut right here, and I'm going to create a pull request based on this branch. So nothing is merged, but now I have a pull request. So my 2 teammates can go and take a look at my code and review it. And they can make comments like, okay, yeah, this is great, or could you change this, or did you think about X, or whatever you want. You can add comments, and then they can approve it or not. So could you guys review my PR, please? Oh, let me put the link in there.
Do you have to add a comment?
No, you don't have to. And you can also add comments yourself.
How do you approve it?
So you
Yeah, I
should,
don't.
if you go to files changed
Okay.
and then review
Oh,
change.
I see.
So I can't approve my own PR.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Approve. Okay. Submit review.
Okay, one down.
Oh, and then I gotta also.
Yeah, so I set it to require 2 approvals. You could set it to 1 if you want. 1 or 2 is fine. Okay, so I got 2 approvals, and they could have left comments. They could have said, "Hey, can you change this?" or blah blah blah. So that they could either basically ask for a revision or clarification or whatever else, and then either approve or not. So my PR is obviously very good because they approved it. And so then at this point, I can merge it. So now this PR is closed and it is merged to main. So this is that most recent commit. So this is now merged to main. So the next thing you want to do is like, okay, well, now I can start working on another feature. But we need to make sure you do is go back to main. So git checkout main. And then what do I do here?
You got to pull.
Yeah. Git pull. So this just makes sure that my local, so anytime you start a new branch, you want to do that. You want to check out main, git pull, origin main, or just git pull. Make sure you have like the up-to-date version of the thing before you start your new branch. It just reduces certain problems. Okay, so now I could create a new branch and repeat the process over and over again. So git pull origin main, get the most recent copy. I create a branch. I do my feature development. Once I'm happy with it, I submit a pull request. And a pull request can have, multiple commits, obviously. Maybe I get some feedback. I make some changes. I put up another commit. I get approval. Then I merge it into main. And then I just repeat that cycle over and over again. Go back to main, pull down the most recent from main, and then repeat. Okay. Questions about that? Okay. All right. So that part is taken care of. So now, one, everyone on my team has access to this repo. 2, no one can directly push to main. So we've got, a system for accountability for when stuff gets pushed to the main branch. The next thing we want to do is basically some kind of automated quality control. And we can do that with GitHub Actions. So there are a number of other solutions, things that solve a similar problem. But GitHub has this integrated now, and it's pretty easy to use and it's free. So that's what we're going to use. And the way you use it is you have to basically create some configuration in your repo. Create a, we already did this. So you create a .github folder, and then in that folder, you're going to have a folder called workflows, and in that folder, you're going to have a YAML file. So let's set this up. So first, I'm going to create a new branch. I'm developing a new feature, and I can't push directly to main. So git checkout -b setup GitHub actions. Okay, so I'm going to go here, and I'm going to create a folder called .github, and then in that folder, workflows, and then in that folder, I can create a YAML file, and you can call it whatever you want. Okay, so .github, workflows, and then some YAML file. And let's see. So we'll start with this. So I'm going to copy this in, and I'll just talk about it. So there's a format for this. It has a name. This can be whatever you want. And then on, this is basically the trigger or the conditions under which you want stuff to happen. And we want stuff to happen anytime someone pushes to main or makes a pull request against main. You could add, you could add others, but I think this is a pretty sensible, starting point. And in here, you can include multiple branches. You can also do like wildcards. You can use an asterisk or something like that. But so here are the triggers. And when these events occur, or when either of these events occur, we want some jobs. We want some stuff to happen. So jobs is a top level entity, and then you can have different jobs. And this is an arbitrary name, but we have one job here, which is called React tests. And React tests is going to run our unit tests for React. So it's going to, so the structure for this is you tell it what it runs on, and this is basically the operating system. So you should be able to just use Ubuntu latest, but if you have very particular needs, you might change that. But so this is just like a Docker file where we'd have from Ubuntu or from Alpine or whatever. So here is the operating system it's going to run on, and then a job is going to have different steps. And there are a lot of, so you can write your own actions. You can also, and this is what you should do basically all the time, is use other people's actions. So there's this GitHub action called checkout. So we'll just look at that real quick. So this is all just, basically third-party code that you can use. And you can look at the description. Oh, they're on the V4 now. So this just checks out your repository so your workflow can access it. So the GitHub Actions is basically like a Docker container, and it's going to run some stuff for you. And you want it to run stuff against the code that's in your repo. So you include something like this, and it will just automatically basically clone what's in your repo onto that Docker image. So we're going to grab our code. Then what we're going to do is, so here's this other thing. We're basically going to install Node. So here's another third-party thing, actions, setup Node, blah, blah, blah. And you can specify the version. You can also do things like specify multiple versions if you want to test it against, node 16 and 17 and 18, you can actually specify that as like a matrix, and it will run everything like against each thing. You can do the same thing with operating systems, but you shouldn't need to do that. But we're basically, okay, so check out our code, install node on this Ubuntu latest image, and then here's where we're actually gonna do stuff. So now that we've set up our environment by specifying the operating system and cloning down our repo and installing node, all the dependencies are taken care of. What we actually want to do is here. So we want to run npm CI, which I forget what that does actually. I think it installs, it's like running npm install basically. And then we're going to build it. So it's going to install all of your dependencies, like your node modules. Then it's going to build it, and then it's going to run npm test. So this is all stuff that you could do locally. So if I cd into front end now, I can run npm CI, and it should install everything. Okay, so one that checks like, can I can I install everything that is required by my dependencies? You might have conflicts or whatever, so that works. So that's like a minimum test. Another thing is npm run build. I'll just do that. Okay, so that works. If there's some other problem, it wouldn't be able to build, and so that's another check. And then we can also run npm test. And there are no tests here, so this will fail. So we're basically just going to fake that for now, but you could obviously add actual unit tests here. So what I'm going to do in the package.json is I'm going to add a placeholder for test. And now if I run npm test, it will just echo that. But if you install like Jest or something like that, it'll tell you what to put here. Okay. So now, so everything that I just did is stuff you should do before you submit a PR anyway, just to make sure that it works. But here we're saying we're going to automate this, right? So anytime someone pushes up a commit that we care about, it's going to check, can I install the dependencies? Can I build it? Do the test pass. And it's not dependent on me on my local machine. Maybe I have something installed that's not listed in my dependencies and blah, blah, blah. So this is just an objective way of doing that. All right, so I've got that going. So now what I want to do is I want to push up these changes. So git status and git add, git commit. Okay, so I've just pushed this up to the branch, basically creating a PR, which I'll do right now. And once I create this pull request, it's actually going to trigger. So we can go to the actions, GitHub Actions tab now, and you can see that this is running because I created the condition that anytime there's a PR, basically that this should run. So I can click here. I can see all these steps are executing. Okay, so that passes. It sets up. This is all, stuff you don't have to worry about. But here are the commands. So here's the setup stuff where we install everything and then run this command, run this command, run this command, and everything passed. So let's say, for example, that, let me go back and change this. I'll just remove that. And I'm going to push up a new commit. And if I push up a new commit, that's also going to trigger GitHub Actions because the condition gets met. So it's going to kick off another one. And I can take a look at this. So this should pass, and this should pass. And we got an error. So this job failed, and we can look at why. Gives me an error, blah, blah, blah. So if you're if the automated tests aren't passing, then you shouldn't be able to push up a PR. And I can go to the pull request. You can see there's a red check here that indicates that the CI has failed. So green check, it passed. Red check, it did not pass. So let's just go ahead and check. Can both of you approve this PR, please? And we'll see if I can still merge it, even with failing CI. Looks like I can merge it, but I shouldn't be able to do that. So let me go check in settings again.
I think it's that top one, isn't it, Chad? Requires status checks to pass before merging.
Where do you see that?
Down a little bit, right there.
This might be, yeah, this might be more complex to set up. So I'm not gonna try to do that right now. But if you want to set that up, you can. Otherwise, you could just, be on the honor system as far as that goes. Okay, so the action is failing now. So if I push up a new commit, I'll fix this. And this should kick off the CI again. So we got a new commit. In a second, I should see this here. I'll wait for it to pass. impatient, so I'm gonna go look at it. Okay, so that should be fine. We'll just refresh this. There we go. All right, so I'm going to merge this in. All right, so now I want to add some more actions. So I'm going to git checkout main, git pull. There we go. So now I'm up to date here. So I'm going to add some more jobs here. I'm going to add this. So the naming convention for the containers are a little different. So you should also create a separate run compose dev script that has a different naming convention. So it's a little bit of a pain, but we'll just do that real quick, and then I'll show you how it works. There. And I'm going to give it permissions to execute. So I'll paste this in there. And so this will be based on the repo name. What did I call it? Actions-demo. Okay, and then we're going to add a fuller thing. I'll copy this. And then I'll talk about it. All right, so this is the same. It's going to basically just test your front end code. This will do the same thing for the back end. So we're going to run it on Ubuntu. This is like the standard image to use. And then we're going to check out the code, just like the other one. Then we're going to install Python 4. And then we're going to install the requirements and then run the test. So manage.py test. So we're going to start with the base image, install Python, install the requirements, and then run the test. So basically the same thing we did for the React code. And then we're also going to have a third one, which is kind of like it's basically in end-to-end tests. So we're just going to run the dev compose script. So this is going to say, like, if either one of these tests fail, then there's no point in running this because there's some other problem. So here we're just saying, basically, you have to run these two first and they have to pass. So we specify the image. This, on Ubuntu latest, it should be fine. We're going to check out the code just like we always do. And then we're going to execute the run compose dev CI script. And this script is just going to spin up all the containers. And if there's an error, it should fail. And then we're basically going to clean up so it doesn't run forever. If you don't do this, it'll just sit there and run. And you don't want that. So if it spins up successfully, then you know it works and you can just kill the containers. So I'm going to make this change. So git checkout, add more CI. Need a -b. And git status. Okay, git add Git commit. All right, so there we go. You can check out this repo, create a PR. And now we can go to GitHub Actions, and it should run all that stuff. So we have these two things which have to happen first, and this one is dependent on both of these passing. So we'll run the React tests, which you saw before. We'll also run the Django tests. And there are actually no tests here, but it's still going to build everything to make sure it can build and then run the test. Okay, so that passes. We can look at the run compose part. So these two jobs passed, so now this one can start. And it's going to execute your dev compose file, basically. So you can make you can do all kinds of stuff with GitHub Actions. You can make it as complicated as you want, but I think this is like the baseline you should use, and this should be fine. You can also do stuff like, create images and push images somewhere, or, trigger some other event somewhere else, get a notification, blah, blah, blah. There's all kinds of crazy stuff you can do. Okay, so here's what I think it's going to wait 10 seconds, and then it's going to run migrations. Okay, so there are no errors. So now I'm stopping the containers so that GitHub Actions will not run forever. Okay, and that passes. So now I'm gonna break it to make sure that it fails. So I go to, so this the dev CI script is just running. It's just the only difference between the dev and dev CI is the naming convention here. But we'll go here and let's fail to provide it some stuff it needs. So we'll see what happens. So I'm going to push another commit to this branch. So git add. Okay, new commit should trigger another run. All right. So wait for this to fail so you can see it. Has anyone used anything like this before, out of curiosity? So, you know, you could have errors at any point in this process. You could have errors building, you could have errors installing stuff, you know, blah, blah, blah. Here, the error is going to be when I think when it will try to run migrations. So at the very end. Okay, so all the images are up now, and we'll try to run the migrations. And we get an error. So this stop containers will always run. It's always gonna close everything down. And this failed. So we can look here, what happened in the logs. Okay, so blah, 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 runtime warning, got an error checking inconsistent migration, blah, blah, blah. So could not translate host name DB to address, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, there's a failure here because we didn't pass in the credentials that it needs. So that's pretty much it. Any questions about that? And then, so, you know, what I would do then is, you know, fix whatever error occurred here, push up a new commit, and then get approval and merge it and continue on. So this is, you know, basically a simplified version of how stuff works. I mean, you'll almost certainly on the job be doing something along these lines. It's not just like I create a repo, I write code, I push it up, etc. All right.